and welcome to the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel and our live stream Q&A, Ask Me Anything, where you can ask me about all things history or social studies. And this is our first one this weekend. We weren't able to do one yesterday, so because of that, we are doing a live stream special. You get 2 hours of questions and answers by me, a historian, about any historical topic you'd like in a friendly, neighborly manner. And I am joined today with Lewis and Clark and their expedition in the background, watching us as we go through history together, as we explore and traverse through different types of history. So if you have any questions about history, social studies, if you like, for the next 2 hours or so, I will be here to answer all of them. And I've got my Hugh Hefner, I'm History Hefner today. I've got my Hugh Hefner smoking jacket on me with... obviously, smoking jackets were invented in the 19th century they were very common in Britain for people to smoke, men especially, to smoke tobacco and feel good about themselves after dinner and not get it all over their street clothes. But hello and welcome to the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel, to our Q&A, where you can ask me about anything you'd like, history or social studies related, for the next 2 hours or so. I'll be going until 8 p.m. Eastern tonight in a very special live stream because we didn't do one yesterday. I'm making up for it by double timing today, so hopefully that's really enjoyable for all of you. We are right next, we are on the edge of 10,000 subscribers, so please like and subscribe. We can hit over 10,000 today with your help. Really looking forward to that. So if you have any questions about history or social studies, please drop them in the chat, and I will answer them in a friendly, neighborly manner as soon as possible. I've got my great moderator Harsonet here, and hopefully he will be able to put the social medias in the channel, where you can get access to my Patreon, where you get exclusive content, and you've also got my Instagram, my Substack, and stuff like that. Explain the history of Norway during World War II. Well, here at the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel, we think that there were 3 world wars. World War II would be the Great War, but Hars is probably referring to historical. Let me see. Probably referring to World War III, the 1940s. Norway resisted the Nazis, but eventually was conquered and occupied by them. Like many countries in Europe that were occupied by the Nazis, they had a strong resistance force. I read a really great book about this by Hemingway. It's a fictional one, or Steinbeck, called "The Moon is Down," which is a really, really good account of occupied Norway in the 1940s, about Germans occupying this house of a Norwegian city mayor and everything. But the Norwegians were resistant to the Germans for the most part. The Danes had fallen quickly, and the Nazis occupied as much of Scandinavia as possible. Sweden stayed out of the war, so the Nazis never occupied them, but probably were pretty friendly with them in order to stay on par with them. Do you ignore historical facts to follow a didactic tales, win an argument, and/or what historical facts do I ignore, Steve? I don't know what you're talking about. And there are social media handles, so please follow us on those social media handles. If you want to become part of our larger community, you can read my Substack articles, you can find stuff on Instagram, bonus content, and you can subscribe to my Patreon, become a member there, and you get access to my First Lady series and other stuff. Stories I know from World War II are so interesting, like the king and the pilots defending Oslo and Narvik. Yeah, that happened a lot. But yeah, please like and subscribe. Welcome to the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel, where we are talking about history in a friendly, neighborly manner, as we do every Friday and Saturday. And since we didn't do it yesterday, we're going to go double time, 2 hours today. Hopefully a very, very good live stream. Hello, Goose. Good to see you. Welcome to the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel. If you guys have questions about history or social studies, I'll be happy to answer them. So let's see what happens. We've been doing this for a little over a year and a half. Started in February of 2024, and in the summer of that year, we started doing our live streams. And it started off with 1 Q&A on Saturdays, then it became 2 on Saturdays and Sundays, and then we added the live stream lectures about a year ago, and then Fridays and Saturdays are for questions. So you guys can vote on YouTube tonight about which historical topic you would like me to discuss tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But hello, Zeke. Hello, Goose. Good to see you. I hope, if this is your first time joining us, we're very glad that you're here. But also, we welcome back everyone who usually follows us here at the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel. I'm in my usual attire, my smoking jacket, which turns me into History Hefner. So, do you recall my question about Hannibal's personal elephant last stream? Yeah, you were asking about if he had a particular type of elephant with him, and I wasn't sure one way or another. It was a particular, unique type of elephant that I'm not very familiar with that you mentioned. But yeah. Anyone have questions about history or social studies? George Washington circumvented a Pennsylvania law that would have freed the enslaved people by rotating them out of the state every 6 months. I don't care. Thank you for sharing that, Steve. Steve always comes onto the channel to try to correct me about things that I don't even need correction on. So that's why I'm not I'm not in the mood for that right now. Let's see here. Hello, welcome to the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel. Why would you say had more success in their respective campaigns, MacArthur and Patton, and why? I think MacArthur, the Inchon landing, was obviously quite brilliant. Patton was extremely successful, but only during one war. MacArthur had successes in 2 major wars. His bullishness against the Koreans and the Chinese, however, in the Korean War eventually got him replaced and thrown out. So, yes, I asked. So I would go with MacArthur. I think MacArthur was more successful. I think Patton was an extremely great general, though. You can't tell the story of the Allies winning the Second or Third World War. We think the First World War was the 7 Years' War, all of that stuff. Opinion on the Rasputin controversy. What part of the controversy do you want opinion on? He obviously took a lot to kill him. And yes, today is the No King's Day protest, I'm aware. Hello, Liam. I did some digging. Turns out the name was Cyrus, which translates to the Syrian. This could imply he was a Syrian elephant, an extinct species of African elephant that was about twice the size. Oh, that's really cool. So a Syrian elephant. Constipation is the work of the devil. Read the holy book when you hear your neighbors struggling in the bathroom, okay? Sure, answer. I guess I'll do that. I'd rather learn about history or social studies or make a video so that you guys will hopefully enjoy. But yeah, I guess I can just do that instead. And yes, we are on TikTok. You can find other videos on TikTok. There's stuff on TikTok that's not on YouTube and vice versa. Why did Hitler choose to precede the war in Russia if he knew the winter was coming? I think he thought he could knock them out quickly with a blitzkrieg, and he underestimated the resilience of the Russians, not necessarily their strength. They did almost completely collapse. It was very, very close. It seems inevitable that the Russian winter would delay the Germans like it had Napoleon, but both Napoleon and Hitler, from a military standpoint, had every reason to attack Russia. Did Columbus come west because the east was blocked by Islamic Empire at the time? Part of it was, but the Spanish got around that by going around the bottom of Africa. Columbus didn't believe the world was flat, but he believed it was a lot smaller than it actually was. He was also supposedly one of the few who managed to survive the march on the Alps. Pretty interesting. Yep. Never fight a land war in Asia. That's true. So, anyone else have a question? If you're enjoying what I'm talking about, please like and subscribe and become a friendly neighborhood historian. Yeah, be happy to have you here. So, let's see. I'm going to lean back because I'm always used to sitting forward and it exhausts me and all of that. So I'm just going to lean back a little bit and relax, and hopefully you can too here at the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel, where we talk about history in a neighborly, friendly manner. And hopefully you guys can still hear me all right. I'm still coming in clear. But let's see if we got... I'm testing my eyesight and seeing how farsighted I am, if I can still read your questions or not. So please drop any topic about history or social studies you'd like to discuss in the chat, and I'll be happy to discuss it with you as soon as possible. Hello from Hamburg. Thank you, X, for joining us all the way from Hamburg, Germany. We have people who are here who joined the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel from all over the world. Lots of people from India and China, Russia. It's really fascinating to have people from so many great areas of the world joining us and learning history with us here. And of course, the Germans have quite a interesting and unique and storied history. And there's a lot, and we talk about German history all the time. And it's not just the Nazis and the Kaiser. There's a lot. Even though Germany is a relatively young country, when you think about it, German culture is one of the oldest in the world. I plan to start watching the live since the last one. I like the channel and the talks. Well, I appreciate that. It's so good to have you here, Goose. Did Pakistan hate India even back in the Hindustan days? They weren't necessarily separated countries. The Muslim and Hindu populations of the Indian subcontinent have bickered with each other for 1,000 years, yes. In the days of the Delhi Sultanate and the Mughal Empire, they were pretty uproariously opposed to each other, and that was why the British divided India and Pakistan from each other. Finally, some good, smart, live content. It's all people smoking weed and tear up brain rot. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm just doing my thing. Check out Stanford University Engineering Web, their PI network. Okay, thanks. Do you know about the Germanic tribes kicking Roman Empire? Yeah, the Teutoburg Forest, Varus losing the 5 legions and devastating Augustus in 9 AD. One of the most surprising victories. Basically, the Germans used the home court to their advantage, attacking the Romans from the forest. The Romans thought they were invincible, and this set back the Romans and made it pretty clear that they would never fully conquer the Germans the way they had the Gauls, or the French, if you rather, the Franks. Who are your top 5 favorite abolitionists from the Western world, and what did you like what they did? Wilberforce, Lincoln, Garrison, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman. And I think you can all agree with everything that I'm saying because those are all really good ones. The British just cut up countries. Irish here. Well, yes, and the Irish, they definitely cut that up. Is Wikipedia a reliable source for history? No, but it can give you the starting points for getting into more deep information. Question: who got Jesus killed? Jewish religious leaders, jealous of Jesus' influence, basically strong-armed the Romans into killing him. Not to argue with it, but to add something, it is extremely dangerous to sail around the south of Africa. That's very true. Lincoln was a dictator. Lincoln was in the middle of a war. American presidents in the middle of wars are comparably dictators to American presidents during peacetime. Do you think it was the Dutch who sealed Widodo's fate on Mauritius, or rather the stuff they brought with them? Probably the stuff they brought with them. Oh, but obviously the Romans won because their style of warfare didn't change for more centuries. The Romans were amazing at warfare, were amazing at battle, defeated the Carthaginians, the Greeks, and many of the barbarians. But the Germans, the forests, the wildness of the German forces, and the various different tribes like the Teutoni, for instance, and the Alemanni were more than enough to hold back the Romans. Do a flip. No, you first. What do you think happened at the Roman Ninth Legion? Not sure. No kings in America. Yes, there are no kings in America. I'm very well aware of that, and so is Donald Trump. These protests are just as pointless as the first ones. No offense to anyone who's protesting. You have a right to protest, and there's probably very good reasons to protest, but I'm just getting sick and tired of all the publicity, and it's all politically generated because of the shutdown. Tell us how badly Spartan society sucked. Go watch my long-form video comparing Athens and Sparta. Spartan society was very tough. Women were trained to be warriors, were trained to be athletes, and were trained to basically train boys from a young age to become the best versions of themselves militarily that they could possibly be. Spartan women were known for telling their husbands or their sons, return with your shield or on it. Basically, you either return victorious or you return dead. Spartan children, if they had any deformities, were often left out to the elements to be taken by the wild. It was a very aggressive society. Yeah, nice wig. Okay, Ben. There are communist protests going on. People are allowed to be communists and allowed to protest. Stop getting offended. What place in Vietnam was the hardest for the Americans to conquer despite their ultimate loss? The North, obviously. They were adapted by the French and English. True. Can you please tell us about the coup in America? Which coup are you referring to? Let me see here. What war do you find the most interesting? 7 Years' War, aka World War I. Question: is Israel lighter? Same Jewish. Stop screaming your answers with the all caps rage. But yes, Ashkenazi Jews are Jews. I'm sorry to disappoint you on the internet. You're allowed to be a communist. There you go. Yeah. Why did Rome fall? Rome fell because of corruption, greed, infighting, barbarian invasions, low population, birth rates, an economic crisis, like the devaluing of the currency, all of that. There are, let me see. Was the painter onto something? No. Not in a moral sense, but in a search to restore Germany. Genuine question. You can be a nationalist without being a Nazi, but that doesn't mean that the National Socialists were good. Why has France been so politically unstable since Napoleon? They were politically unstable before Napoleon. It was the overthrow of the Ancien regime and the inability to replace it with a proper form of government. It was the continual battle between the conservatives, the upper class, and the military against liberals and Democrats in the polity. It was a tension between imperial reign, monarchical reign, and a constitutional liberal republic. And eventually they settled on a republic, but that republic carried that legacy of instability, that it could fall at any time because of the first few French revolutions. And there isn't just one French revolution; there are about 4 of them that happened in the 18th and 19th centuries. How did the Industrial Revolution influence the Russian Revolution? The Russians fell way behind the Europeans. They continued to experience societal decay. The Russian czars tried to force them to industrialize at an extremely quick rate. They didn't have unionization. They didn't have collective bargaining. They didn't get the advantages that European workers did during the Industrial Revolution because their Industrial Revolution was so far behind and was being forced through. So the industrial areas that, even though Russia was heavily agrarian, the industrial areas that were around were eventually easy grounds for revolutionary fervor in 1916, 17, and 18. So from Scotland. Thank you for joining us. I don't know what happened to the Roman Ninth Legion. I'm sure they were destroyed. Let me see here. This guy looks like Eddie Brock. I don't know who that is. Roman Empire technically fell in 1458. You're thinking of 1453 with the fall of Constantinople, but no. It is true that the Byzantines did consider themselves to be Eastern Roman, but they're very much not a Roman Empire early in their history. Taking down the Ottoman Empire, that's the Great War, what I call World War II, and that was part of it, but it was also to keep Germany. The German question of how powerful and influential Germany is, it has a lot of resources, it's in the middle of a continent, how much influence it will exercise over the rest of Europe is a huge, huge geopolitical issue that has frustrated Europeans for 150 years. Yeah. Personally, I find the Civil War pretty interesting, fascinating war. Actually, the Roman Empire did not fall until the Ottomans took over. No, that's not true. What place in Vietnam, not region, was the hardest for Americans to conquer despite their ultimate loss? I'm trying to think of different areas. Can't say one off the top of my head. Sorry. What you know about the Polish Hussars fighting back the Arabs that were in front of Vienna already? King Jan Sobieski and this was when the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was around, and they were actually the predominant power in Eastern Europe in the 17th century, and they were a huge aid in relieving the Poles, relieving the Austrians at Vienna and defeating the Ottoman forces there. It's another huge, huge example of a big moment where the Europeans were able to hold back the Ottomans from expanding into Central Europe and overthrowing the Habsburgs. Who was Magna Carta? Great charter. It was written by the English nobles, and it forced King John to consent with his nobles before going to war or anything like that. What do you know about the indigenous tribe known as the Caribs that defeated Christopher Columbus and his mercenaries? They were the rivals of a local Taino tribe, the Arawaks, and they were known for practicing cannibalism. Genghis Khan, great general, perfected cavalry warfare, particularly horse archery, and this allowed the Mongols to sweep through Asia and conquer huge swaths of it during his lifetime and then more afterwards. What if Marshall Lennox didn't fight in the Battle of Aspirin? Don't know. What would you ever be, Harry Potter or Arnold Schwarzenegger? I'd rather be neither. What do you think about Che Guevara? Interesting that Che was basically stabbed in the back by the very man who helped make him a revolutionary leader. Fidel Castro knew he was going to be killed and allowed it to happen anyways in South America in, I think, 1967. Columbus is a dummy king. James of Scots murdered him. I'm different. That didn't happen. Welcome to Gboard Clipboard. Any text you copy will be saved here. Thanks, I guess. Let me see. Do y'all think there needs to be another revolution in America? What do you think? No. The Great War is World War I. Yes. Or, no, it's World War II, in my opinion. Is the Great Wall of China facing China? It's in China. Thank you, Haley. Appreciate your live channel. Save. Okay, whatever. Andrew Jackson removed or anything stole anything Native Indian and murdered Native Indian state-owned land. He tried to. It took a while to happen, and eventually the Cherokees died on the Trail of Tears, a lot of them. Why did the Jews kill Jesus? There was a lot of fear of his political and religious influence, and it was really just a group of Jewish leaders who exerted a lot of influence that wanted him dead. What great raft? Would you rather be at the Somme or Verdun? I'd rather be closer to the war's end. So I would rather be at Verdun. Who was the favorite artist of the German propaganda maker Goebbels? I don't know. Why did the Jews kill Kirk? They didn't kill Kirk. Thank you for joining us from India. Which crusade was the most successful for the Europeans? Was the Orthodox faith involved in the Crusades? The Orthodox were supposed to be, the Byzantines of Eastern Rome were supposed to be relieved by the Crusades. The Crusaders were supposed to help them win back land and territory that they had lost to the Muslims, but this eventually ended up not working. And eventually, as time went on, as the tensions grew between the Latin West and the Greek-speaking Eastern churches, they eventually turned on each other. And then the Fourth Crusade, the Catholics actually took over Byzantium and part of Constantinople, and took over a part of the Byzantine Empire for the time. It's called the Latin Empire. And eventually, the Byzantines won the land back, but the Crusaders went from ostensibly helping the Byzantines to eventually using their crusades as an excuse to strip the Byzantines and the Eastern Orthodox Church of power and authority, and basically help lead to their demise in the 15th century at the hands of the Ottomans. Thank you, X. I appreciate that. Why do you think King Louis XVI kept his ring on if he was trying to flee France unprotected? Because he was ostentatious and stupid. But the Hebrew text clearly states that the Romans killed Jesus. That's true. Making chicken kofta and eggs curry. Who else likes it? Sounds very delicious. Will you be in my quiz team? Sure. Let me see here. Do you know the YouTube channel Nick? No. Would the United States have another civil war? Maybe, I don't know. I have sailed around the southern part of Africa, the Cape of Storms, the Cape of Good Hope, Cape Iris. We have been lucky. Very nice weather both times. Yeah, it wasn't easy for the Europeans to do that, to say the least. What happened to the 51st Division, World War II? Not sure. Thank you, Wiggles. Trump is on the Epstein list. Now what? Exactly. We're just never going to hear the full story about it. It doesn't matter who's in power. Can you explain the theory of blood libel in the Middle Ages concerning the Jews? Basically, writings, if I'm correct, writings against the Jews. This was about their ancestry and accusing someone of being a Jew, even if they had been baptized as Christians in Spain, could lead them to be. So if someone had been a Jew, but they had had a Christian nanny or midwife overseeing them, they might have been baptized, and then when they grew up, and despite growing up Jewish, they were considered to be Christians, so when they were found by the Inquisition, they were declared heretics and usually tortured and killed. This happened thousands of times in Spain during the 15th and 16th centuries. And so basically, blood libel, if I am correct, is accusing someone of being Jewish when they are not, or accusing them of accusing someone of being of having Jewish blood in them, and secretly being a Jew. Why did Europeans settle in some of the worst locations? Also, of course, the anti-Semitism in Europe was horrible at the time because they believed the Jews had killed Jesus and blamed them for that. Why did the Europeans settle in some of the worst locations? Nearly all the spots were marshes, swamps, or floodplains. Because they just decided to take on a challenge. Do you think if assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand wouldn't have happened, then both wars would not have happened? Do you agree on the fact? No, it's not a fact. It's an opinion. A war would have been coming anyways. Who knows how severe the war would have been. And I don't believe that the Great War caused World War III. I believe that the Nazis manipulated. If you believe that, you're buying the nonsense the Nazis taught in order to scapegoat the problems of Germany after the Great Depression. You should study the NZ wars. The natives had elaborate trench systems which the British adapted. Of New Zealand, the Maori. Interesting. Thank you for telling me about that. So the British actually took trench warfare from the Maori Indians. That's interesting. The natives. If every video on YouTube was deleted and YouTube gave you the opportunity to be the first one to dominate any one niche on the platform, which niche would you want to be the king of? This one, the educational one, the historical one. Tell us about the land of Ur. Ur is referenced in the Bible, is probably what you're thinking of, but it was a city-state, and city-states were basically a city in several different areas that were controlled by one king or one group. And they were very common in the ancient world, and Mesopotamia was full of them, and Ur was one of the major ones. You're clearly uncomfortable. Why not take off a smoking jacket? I like the smoking jacket, and I'm not uncomfortable. Why does everyone hate the Jews? I love the Jews. I don't know. People on the internet have nothing better to do than waste their time with the Jews, and as soon as they become obsessed with them, with their hatred, it's all that they can talk about. It's a mania. How is Trump's involvement in Latin South America not just another banana republic? It is. Anyways. Let me see. Centuria, you are someone. Okay. Do you plan on visiting any historical place? I've visited several and I want to visit more, and I want to go around where Lewis and Clark went on their expeditions. If you had to be stuck in a room with Woodrow Wilson, Donald Trump, and the Israeli government, who would you want to be in the room with and why? None of them. Stop asking that. There are 44 countries in Europe. Which one are you referring to? His palms are sweaty, knees weak. Oh, yeah. Great. An Eminem reference. Eminem's birthday was yesterday. Watch my daily content, including I upload daily shorts on this channel all the time, including videos about today's history, who died today and who was born today. Eminem's birthday was yesterday, October 17th, Marshall Mathers. I also do historical hot takes, crazy history, explanation, today I learned, all sorts of great surprising stuff here on the Friendly Neighborhood History channel, and sometimes just stuff that comes to my mind, and usually Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays I upload shorts on Russian history. I also have daily news updates for those of you who are sick and tired of the mainstream news and just want objective facts reported from a social scientist. You can get them from me. Also, what else? I also have long-form videos that usually drop every Monday and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, you just need a cigar, mustache, and a hairy chest. Yep, thanks, Wiggles. I'll take it. Anti-Semitism definition has changed. It applies to more than Jewish people. There are Semites all over the Middle East. You are correct. Natives were sent to dig the first trenches, and they were called the Pioneer Battalion. You'll learn this in history. You'll never learn this. Thank you for telling me that. I actually have heard about the gum diggers before, but I didn't know that they were predominantly natives. It actually makes sense. The British, obviously, like the French and the other Europeans, used natives during both world wars on the front lines in battalions to fight. So not only were so despite so many people hating on the British Empire and colonization and what that did to the native populations, and there's obviously a lot to hate there, at the same time, you can't have the British having the forces and the resources necessary to defeat both the Kaiser and the Nazis without that large empire and the manpower and resources available from their empire, particularly places like India, Australia, and South Africa. Which war had the highest mortality rate? I believe the last World War. You need some therapy. No, you need some therapy. Was Alexander the Great really 5 foot? Ancient people were a lot shorter due to malnutrition, so very possible. You're a bell end? I don't know what that means. Trump said that if he doesn't get the Norwegian Nobel Prize, he would declare war. Did he say Norwegian? Oh God, I can make a kick roast beef. Okay, thank you, Christopher, for the offer. Craziest history fact I know is that Christopher Columbus was exploring to plunder enslaved people in order to fund a crusade and trigger the rapture. Reading that in his diaries is crazy. He believed that he was going to bring about God's kingdom here on the earth, and he believed that pillaging resources and enslaving people was absolutely necessary to make that happen. And by the way, so did every single other major explorer of his time. So let me see here. How much are pelts these days? A lot more with tariffs. Why are major American cities like Chicago, Boston, Washington, D.C. built on swamps? I don't know. It makes it harder to attack. It makes it harder to assail. Washington, D.C. was just land taken from Virginia and Maryland. I don't know about it's It's also access to a river. Any major city is going to be built near a river. So there you go. What are 3 things that are most important to you? You liking and subscribing. There are 3 things. You liking and you subscribing. Let me see here. Crimean War, most mortality. I don't know about that. Were you aware that mammoths didn't go extinct to the Bronze Age? Yes, I've heard that before. Do you agree that California should pay reparations? Gavin Newsom does. I don't believe anyone should pay reparations in general, unless it's an immediate wrong that is done by a society or group of people to another, and it can be remedied in that generation, like the Japanese internment camp victims getting reparations 50 years after the internment camps. Then I don't think it's necessary for people sent, because this goes back all the way to ancient history, and one people can be blamed, and then all of a sudden they're paying reparations, and no, they're paying reparations, and I just don't like that back and forth. Have you heard of the attack of the Dead Men? It happened on the August 16th, 1915. The Germans launched 3,000 gallons of mustard gas at the Battle of Auschwitz Forest. Yes, I've heard of it. Palestine exists for real or not? Palestine definitely exists. It's an ancient territory. It's an ancient land with an ancient people. The Romans originally renamed Judea Palestine in the 2nd century after defeating the Jews in the Bar Kokhba revolt. But there were people who were living in that area that were Palestinians. Even Israelis or Jews who lived there were called Palestinians up until 1948. Palestine was voted against as a country by Jew-run countries. Yes, thank you, Sky Daddy. I really don't care what you think. We had an old Crimean War cannon, which was a gift from the British, that went missing. That's pretty cool. I would have loved to see that. Well, if there's any... Oh, I'm finally caught up to the chat. Well, if wasn't any religion, the world would be about 1,000 years ahead on developing instead of arguing and fighting. No, human beings find ways to shoot themselves in the foot, even without religion. Let me see here. So yes, good to see everybody. Good to see some members here. Members have that fun little emoji, and they get early access and their own special videos. So if you want to become a member, any money you give to this channel, either through a super chat or becoming a member, goes back into the channel. I use it to buy better equipment and improve what we're doing. We are monetized, and it's such a wonderful thing that we achieve that this year. But also, all the money that we use on this channel goes into making this channel as good as possible. Why was there no Marshall Plan for Afghanistan and Iraq? Because they didn't care about them. Why are the Jewish fighting now, but they didn't fight against the screaming Austrian man? They did in some ways, and they also struggled and resisted and tried to flee from him wiping them out and killing them. Let me see here. Why do some people believe the pyramids were built by extraterrestrials? Because of how difficult they are to make, because of how impressive they are, because of how long they have lasted, and because people believe ancient people were stupid when they were not. So yeah, hi Frank. What makes Japan a low-crime society? It's generally very clean, very uniform society. They're very efficient at getting things done, and they always have been. They're some of the most methodical people in history, if you read about them. We spent a fortune on Afghanistan and Iraq, and it went nowhere. The United States really embarrassed itself geopolitically, drunk off of its success from the Cold War and the last 2 world wars. It decided to go into these pointless exporting democracy wars that didn't do anything for it. What do you call a rich Chinese man? I don't even want to know. Napoleon Bonaparte was a very intelligent person in history. Yes, very much so. Japan is a high trust society like America used to be. That's also true. Japan is, I don't know about the homogeneity of Japan being part of why it's such a clean and formed society. They have less racial issues and divides than the Americans do, but that's out of choice. The Catholic Church alone is the reason for holding back people like Leonardo da Vinci, etc. Except, no, it's not. It's not a fact. Religion can hold back technological and social progress, but that doesn't mean. But religion can also perpetuate social and technological progress. Universities were invented by the church. Islam had its golden age. Every religion is just a conduit. And there's Harry. He's finally here. Good to see Harry, my moderator. There was a funny thing. Mueller Omar, the leader of Afghanistan at the time, said that George Bush. Explain your costume. It's my smoking jacket. I wear it. It's part of my formal wear here at the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel, and it is my uniform, you could say. And the smoking jacket is the British invented it in the 19th century to absorb tobacco smoke from Turkish tobacco they got from the Ottomans after helping them in the Crimean War. So instead of getting the smoke and tobacco and the smell on their clothes, they would put on a smoking jacket, usually after dinner. It was a sign of an officer to do that, and so I have one. A very special gift given to me by a very special follower of this channel, and I like to wear it, especially in the fall months when it gets cooler. The UK is a monarchy. Yep, I do love the jacket. Let me see here. I already explained it. Personally, I think it's stupid to believe ancient people were unintelligent. A lot of people do, though. They just were ignorant. Ignorance and intelligence are different. What do you call an angry German? Sauerkraut. Haha, hilarious. So are you saying we should just abandon veterans that fought in Afghanistan and Iraq? No. You're talking about the GI Bill. You were talking about the Marshall Plan, which was the way the U.S. helped out European countries to rebuild themselves after the war. The U.S. didn't have a plan for that for Afghanistan and Iraq. They kind of did, but it didn't go anywhere because those countries just were antithetical to American democracy, and the cultural clash was really, really evident. So the U.S. didn't have a Marshall Plan, but yeah, veterans get it really bad in this country. And I'm not going to talk more about that because that's a political topic. And if you want me to go into politics and political analysis, do a super chat. What's up with the backdrop? I always have a nice historical backdrop. This is Lewis and Clark on their expedition, and hopefully one day I will blaze their trail. You need a nice goblet instead of a plastic bottle. That would be nice right now, but I don't have anything better. Put yourself in the painting behind you selling traps, and we call it. That would be cool. I will subscribe to your channel. Just say Free Fire is BS. No, and you're BS for trying to get me to do that. The Crimean War, 1853, not 1848. In your opinion, why do you think during Bush's presidency he did not have a military response to Arabia since the 9/11 hijackers were Saudi? Afghanistan and Osama bin Laden was seen to be the key of that, and since the Taliban supported Osama and Al-Qaeda, they were the main targets. Well, for at first, and then it became about exporting democracy to Iraq for some weird reason. Was Kanye right about the Jewish people? No. Name a single landlocked country that ever achieved greatness. Switzerland. Japan is a small country that has moral values that are embraced by nearly all who live there. Yes, they're a very uniform society. Where is the Trail to Blaze located? Across the Missouri-Mississippi rivers, and nobody knows exactly, but it goes through the American plains and eventually ends up in the American Northwest, Pacific Northwest, Oregon in particular. So, it's not black and white. Well, no, it's not a photograph. It's a painting. A sketch is black and white, but paintings usually are not. No, the people involved in 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia. I don't think the Saudi government was facilitating. That's the whole point, yeah. Kylo Ren, who are you to judge any society after working for the Empire? Exactly. Or the First Order. Put yourself in the picture behind you are getting abducted by a UFO, and we will call it fire in the past. Whatever. Do you think a decently strong modern bodybuilder could beat a Spartan? Probably, but the Spartans were pretty intense. Watch my video about Athens versus Sparta for more. Let me see here. Okay, any other questions? I'm getting tired. I've had a long last few weeks. I haven't been on my normal schedule because of that, so I may not be able to go the full 2 hours today. How did Israel know the attacks were going to happen? I don't know if they did. There was some predator knowledge about it. There was people who were warning about a potential attack, but nobody knew for sure it was going to happen. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. What it was is Iraq had the possibility of having weapons of mass destruction. Saddam's record was apparent. Yep, exactly. Given the many nuances that probably obtain what history, of course, is a reference, do you think what Israel did during the last 2 years constituted genocide? No. It was warfare. The Americans didn't commit genocide in Japan. the Israelis didn't commit genocide in Gaza. Was it a myth or true that Spartan soldiers had male lovers? Very common for male lovers in ancient Greece. Yes. I was home with my grandma on 9/11. I did active duty in 99. Okay, then. Because of a global economy and cross-national supply chain. Oh, you were 5. Okay. Thank you for sharing your experience from that. Everyone is so feisty because everyone thinks they're right about everything, and they're not. It's not Hugh Hefner's smoking jacket. It's my own personal smoking jacket given to me by a loyal follower of the channel. 2025 Gen Z riots going on in Southeast Asia. It is kind of interesting to see a lot of political upheaval in Asia from younger generations. I don't know enough about it, but I believe Thailand is one of the major sites of it. Okay. Will you call? Will you? Well, you better do some research on the Catholic Church. Was terrorizing the brain people for around 700, 800 years. Zero development. First, when Napoleon Bonaparte put them into place, things got going. Napoleon was a Catholic. Napoleon restored the Catholic Church in France. You better do some research. Like, go watch my video on Napoleon. I love your channel and your consistent lack of ex post facto justifications we see with many of his. Keith, what are you referring to? If you could go anywhere in the past, where, when, and why would you go? I'd probably go to late 19th century Europe. I say this all the time. Just such a beautiful time to see all of the technological discoveries. The empires are strong. It's wealthy. It's prosperous. It's fun. You get art. You get beautiful art of the Impressionists in France that I love, like Renoir. Love to go to Renoir openings. So, let me see. Have you eaten? No, I have not. Veiled the keys per Elon Musk. Okay, first time here, loving what I'm hearing. New subscriber, thank you. And then with that, I believe we have crossed. Let me see here. I believe we've. Okay, I think we're back. And yes, we have officially passed 10,000 subscribers, so that's some really good news. However, I'm going to wrap it up in a few minutes. I'm not feeling my best. I've been going through a lot recently. I was trying to go for 2 hours, but I'm just too exhausted for that right now. So, let me see here. Egypt warned Israel 2 days before October 7th, before the attacks. Many military was moved 6 to 8 hours away from the. Please YouTube IDF soldiers breaking the silence. Yes, I've heard about this. It's a bunch of nonsense. Warnings don't constitute conspiracies. People who just immediately hear, oh, there was a warning. That means that something was going to happen. It's over the top. It's like the 9/11 stuff. Yes, there were warnings, but people don't know. But warnings and false alarms happen all the time. Do you think the sinking of a General Belgrano should be considered a war crime or even controversial? Sure. I hope whatever you're going through is resolved soon. I hope so too, because it'd be nice to be back to my normal ways here on the channel, but I guess it's probably not going to happen for a while. Are you going to smoke a cigar and have a shot of whiskey for 10,000? I suppose I've earned that. I guess I could. I love cigars. I do. I don't smoke in the studio though. And hopefully I have a better week. Yeah. But I've got live stream tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. Maybe I can go an hour after that and do more Q&As. And I mean, consistently when we do live streams and Q&As, I usually go 75, 80 minutes. So I'm always going way over the hour that I expect to go. And then in live stream lectures, we finish with 45, 50 minutes. And then I've got 15 minutes for Q&A, and I go 30 minutes. So I guess I will do a membership live when I get enough members. I do not have a virus. I'm not sick. I'm just going through a lot. But I am going to wrap up, I think. Getting short of breath for some reason. And I think what I'll do is tomorrow. So I mean, in what I'm trying to say is that I've earned ending early a few times because of everything that because of all the live streams where I go an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes when I'm only supposed to go an hour. So I do need more rest. I need all of that. Thank you, Frog. I appreciate it. Thank you for the congratulations. And we're at 10,000. So enjoy your fried chicken and mashed potatoes, Haley. I'm glad to have you here. But anyways, I'm going to sign off. We will be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. I think I've earned the right to end early. I wanted to go 2 hours. I did, but I just don't feel like I have enough strength. And I could go an hour, but usually I go 80 minutes. So today I'm going 40, so it averages out to 60 either way. And then tomorrow I'll go. You guys can vote here on YouTube for the live stream lecture, and after the live stream lecture, I'll probably try to do another hour of Q&A. So we'll see what happens there. It's up to you guys. You get to vote on the chat, on the channel here exclusively on YouTube. But yeah, follow those live stream, those social media handles that are in the chat, and become a friendly neighborhood historian. And we really appreciate, I can't thank you enough. You guys have made this possible for us to become 10,000 friendly neighborhood historians and strong. You are the friendly neighborhood historians. I'm not the friendly neighborhood historian. I'm History Hefner, especially when I have the jacket on. But we got here because of all of you guys, because you guys love learning about history and because I love talking about it. So we've got the wonderful mods. Make sure to show them some love. Harry and Hars and Freshly's here. And tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing a live stream lecture and maybe another hour of Q&A, so I'll finally catch up on everything. But appreciate everybody. That's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern. Vote on YouTube for that. Spend some time on subject. There's tons of stuff you missed out on when it comes to the Catholic Church. Good luck. Yeah, I didn't miss out on it. You've missed out. I mean, okay, we are back. My phone overheated, which is what happened there. So I'm gonna have to. Excuse me. I'm gonna wrap it up. But please like and subscribe on your way out. Thank you for joining us today, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. But yeah, if you're watching this live stream, we blanked out because of my phone overheating. But thank you, Cherish. I really appreciate you being here, and everybody else. Cherish, all of you. We've hit 10,000 subscribers thanks to you guys. Please go like all of the videos that we have here on the channel, short and long form. Short every day, long form every Mondays and Fridays, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And join us for our live stream lecture tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. But yes, take care. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow. Make sure to come and vote here on YouTube, exclusively on YouTube, for our live stream lecture, which will be about a topic of your choice. So we're looking forward to that, and we'll see you tomorrow for that live stream lecture, and then for our hopefully a Q&A that follows. But take care. Have a great rest of your day, and remember, as always, love history. Bye bye now.